Fireworks. Fireworks. How do you shoot them? What settings do you use? What ISO do you use? We're talking fireworks. Let's get this done. Settings. Now, to understand what settings we need, we have to understand a little bit about fireworks. What is fireworks? Fireworks is light. It's moving light. So if we expose it at a high ISO and we expose it at, say, a 60th of a second or 50th of a second, well, all we're gonna see is these tiny little things of light everywhere, and that's it. And why is that? Well, because the fireworks, you'll notice, is that these little specks of light, and then they drop to the ground. So in dropping to the ground, what are they doing? They're moving. So moving light. So the first thing we're gonna look at is shutter speed. The longer the shutter speed, the more we can trace the light coming all the way down. And the more we can trace the light coming all the way down, the longer a line of light we'll see. So if we're having something in the middle and it explodes and comes down to the ground, well, we'll see all of that light. So that's very important, actually the most important part of fireworks photography. The second is that the sky needs to be black. So if we have a long shutter speed and it's at night, right? If we have a very small aperture, or a large aperture rather, like a 2.8 or 3, 3.5, etc., we're gonna see a lot of the surrounding area. Now, you may want that, you should be able to adjust that if you do want that, but if you don't want that, which a lot of times you won't, then you take your aperture and you shrink the aperture. F8, F11, F16. Now this is something that's trial and error, okay? I typically go to a site, I start at 4-second exposure at F8, F11, somewhere around there, and my ISO, FYI, my ISO, lots of acronyms, is always as low as possible, 64, 100, etc. You want the highest amount of quality because there's going to be a lot of black, and if you put a high ISO, that sky, that black sky in the background is going to be incredibly grainy. You want it ISO as low as possible. So those are your basic settings, and that's a starting point. Don't forget, only a starting point. So 4 seconds F8 at 100 ISO. If your camera can go to 64, great. Very important, focus. Now some people will tell you, oh, you know what, focus to infinity and just back up a bit. And you might get an acceptable focus, but you won't get a precise focus. So many of the DSLRs today have the ability to zoom in, right? You have this big screen in the back, you zoom in, and then when you see the fireworks going off, you can manually focus. It's very precise actually, and especially on the big screen in the back, you manually focus on the fireworks that are going everywhere, and then you just leave it there. Once it's focused, the fireworks are going to be in the same general area, and you're at F8, you're at F11, you're going to have plenty of depth of field, and everything is going to be in focus. And don't forget, even if it is in focus, the fireworks are moving. It's light, it's moving. So there's going to be a certain amount of blur there to begin with. So all you need to do is focus on the same area, make sure you're on a tripod, and just shoot. Don't worry about focus. That's it. Fireworks, get there early, scope it out. Something I'm not really doing right now, but I've been there a million times. So I know where to go, but definitely get there early, scope it out, and get your space before everyone else does. If you ultimately fail at tip number 1, well, try to use what's around you to compose something interesting. Maybe some people, buildings, Use anything you can. Yeah, so gear. Let's talk about gear. Super simple, highest megapixel, largest sensor camera you have, wide angle lens, and badass tripod. That's it. That's all you need. Oh. That's it.